Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast for our final segment of the day, where earlier this morning there was a very controversial debate that broke out based off of Mel Kiper Jr.'s appearance on ESPN's Get Up. Mel Kiper Jr., one of the best in terms of NFL draft analysis, but he went on a little bit of a rant this morning in regards to the slow start to offenses across the league, and he blames it on the fact that we have seen an uptick in opposing defenses dropping their safeties back more, playing two deep safeties, which is basically what it sounds like, having your safeties drop back, playing cover 2 or a cover 4 with that, and basically trying to take away the deep ball from opposing offenses and force them to sort of work the middle of the field a little bit more. And as a result, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks up to this point struggle to do so, because as much arm talent as there is, you look at the likes of an Anthony Richardson or a Will Levis, who, guys that have an incredible arm talent. We've also seen them struggle a lot more when you're talking about those intermediate throws and the decision making, as Vic Locke in the comment section here already argues it's the worst take ever, which I'm with you. I'm right there with you. It is such an absurd sort of path to take in this direction, because yes, we can all understand that, watching offense playing at its best is massively exciting. But that being said, to handicap opposing defenses just because you want the game to look better is an insane strategy. The NFL is constantly evolving, and, Mel Kiper, again, I greatly respect the work that he does in terms of draft analysis, but, he was sort of dating himself, talking about how he grew up on what he called the golden age of the NFL, where it's the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and this idea that taking those deep shots. And the reality of the situation is, it's exciting, and I feel like it couldn't have been that prominent necessarily in the 80s. Maybe I have to do some research more, but in comparison to what we were seeing, especially late 2010s and the early 2020s, when the likes of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen were really emerging and just being able to, those years of Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill of just saying, Tyreek's out there somewhere and just letting it rip downfield and ultimately resulting in touchdowns. Yes, it's massively exciting, but are defenses just supposed to sort of sit on their hands and allow that to happen? I think that concept is, ridiculous. And, I just more so, I guess, on his argument itself, he was talking about it's a beautiful thing to watch, these deep shots, and how this new brand of football is boring with the bubble screens and all of these short passes. The thing about the NFL that I think makes it sort of stand out among all other sports is it is the ultimate combination of strategy and pure athleticism, where, you look across other leagues, and it's not to take away from a sport like basketball. I love the NBA, but a lot of the times it can just be, all right, we're going to isolate our best player and he's going to get us the best shot. Or we're just going to run a pick and roll, get a mismatch, and have them just work the mismatch. Football is just this constant chess game of you do this, I'm going to do this. And you have to make those adaptations. And that's where, the NFL used to be a running league. And then when we got all these new arm talents and, speedsters on the perimeter, we saw the game take a step. But that's always the constant give and take between offenses and defenses in the NFL, is things are always evolving. And I think there are a lot of different things that bake into this. If you want to say running the ball is boring, maybe football just isn't really the sport for you. Go watch flag football, I suppose, if that's the hill that you are willing to die on. But I just, it's a part of the game. It's a very important part of the game is establishing the run game. And I thought that Chase Daniels, of course, former NFL quarterback, made an excellent point that I do think is one of the underlying stories with this as well is the fact that offensive line play over the past handful of years has just gotten worse. And ESPN, as they were talking about this situation as well, this was, I think it was ESPN with Mina Kimes last week, the average depth of intended targets have been dropping year by year. And I think that part of that as well, sure, it's that you have more deep safeties playing back and trying to keep things in front of you. But at the same time, it's also the fact that quarterbacks have less and less time, it feels like, to actually deliver the ball. And I feel like I was looking into it a little bit as well, because when you look on the defensive side of the ball, I think where we have seen some of the most innovation over the past handful of years is just how much of freak athletes we're getting on that front of the defensive line that are just ruining game plans for opposing teams. Where if you go back, 9 of the last 10 Defensive Player of the Year awards that were handed out have been to elite pass rushers, where you go Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, JJ Watt. The only player to win Defensive Player of the Year in the past decade that didn't have double-digit sacks is Stephon Gilmore in 2019. It's just a little bit of a rarity at this point, and I think that it's doing a better job of sort of coaching up that offensive line and finding a way to make opposing teams respect the run game. I think that the Saints are actually a little bit, and this is obviously based off of 2 weeks, so it's not like you can draw any conclusive statements from this, but you look at what the Saints are doing, and they are having so much success right now running the ball with Alvin Kamara and then working off of that with the play action pass. It's this idea of putting Derek Carr under center, forcing opposing defenses to come up a little bit more, and then every once in a while you get those opportunities for the deep shots where Carr has hit Rashid Shaheed on those go routes, those beautiful plays that Mel Kiper was talking about. You get those opportunities eventually, but you kind of have to earn them. If you are going to ban the 2 deep safeties and basically just gift wrap touchdowns to the offense, I think we've really lost the plot with what football is all about. And it's strategy, and it's finding ways to overcome what the other side is trying to, capitalize on. And Vic Lock, puts it well as well. The solution is to ground and pound efficiently and better offensive line. The offensive line issue, I think, is a real problem at this point in the NFL. And it's not that I think that linemen have just gotten so much worse. It's that I feel like for whatever reason it may be, and I think it's some of the modern age of, just producing better athletes overall, but defensive linemen are just killers at this point. And you look at the likes of an Aiden Hutchinson who, single-handedly almost, disrupted so much of what Tampa Bay was trying to do last week. I thought their secondary didn't look all that good, but ultimately, 20 points isn't a little scoring. Like, that's still a decent sample size, but the Buccaneers could have had way more if it weren't for the fact that Aiden Hutchinson was basically living in the backfield. And it took some really impressive play from Baker. That's where you also see Baker on his touchdown run, running a quarterback draw. Like, those types of things as well, is just trying to confuse the defense, get them to act a certain way so that you can sort of throw the counterpunch. And again, I just feel like this idea of, I don't even know what it would be in terms of banning this. Is it banning the coverage? Is it banning where the safeties are allowed to line up pre-snap? The entire concept to me is just ridiculous. And, I can't imagine there's going to be very much traction on this idea of actually banning. But yeah, as Vic says, it is a joke. Jason McCourty tweeted out later, responding to the clip that came out, saying, I should have just walked off the set. And, as a defensive player as well with McCourty, I can't blame him at all because it was outrageous. If you haven't watched the clip, I'd, recommend going to see it. just to give yourself a laugh. It's not a serious take that I think you can put any real stock into, but just the faces of everybody sitting there, it's like, what is this guy talking about? It's a crazy thing. And, the NFL, I mean, we know that they love offense. Like, that is ultimately what sort of sells highlights and stuff, is watching those types of deep shots. So, it's not like Mel is totally off base, that, he is kind of like maybe the passive public in terms of wanting to see those types of plays, having those be the exciting moments. But again, if you're not willing to stick it out through the trenches and through, sort of the other aspects of the game, football just might not be your thing. And I know that football is Mel Kiper's thing. He's made an excellent career out of it. So, I don't want to dump on him any further. I'm sure the entire internet, that's the direction they're going, and deservingly so. It was a horrendous take that he's going to face the backlash a little bit, and we're just going to move over this. The important thing is the NFL, just don't get any stupid ideas in your head, because that would be, I think, detrimental to the league in terms of how much we could actually respect it if they say, oh, well, this part of defense is too good, so we're just going to cop out and force our way out of it. That's a ridiculous strategy. But, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Again, I feel like we can move off of this pretty confidently and not have to worry about it for the foreseeable future. But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for tuning into the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thank you to all the viewers who are contributing in the comment section. Always love to make this show as interactive as possible and get your thoughts on the latest happenings in sports. But as for now, that is all the time we have. So we will be back tomorrow afternoon, same time as always, at 2:00 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe wherever you may be keeping up with us. And we will see you tomorrow with reactions on tonight's Thursday night football game. Take care. Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great.